Hi, I'm Ksenia, and thank you so much for joining me for this week's Astro Weather. I'm your Astro Weather Girl, here with the report of what is going on in the skies and how it's going to impact you. A big welcome to my bronze, silver, and gold star patrons. Mwah! Kisses to you. I love you very much. I pray for you every day. And big welcome to anyone who is new to astrology as well. I hope that this resource, my channel, can provide you with the ability to learn in a deeper way what astrology is and how it impacts your life and how you can work with these energies. And also thank you to all my old friends who continue to join me here on my YouTube channel for my weekly reports, my educational series, and some special interviews that I often pop up as well. So lovely to have you all with me. Thanks for being here. Don't forget, if you are new, feel free to like, subscribe, or you don't have to be new to like, but to subscribe and share these videos and share the astrology love, especially in these times when things are very, heavy in the world. We need this as a source of wisdom, as a source of light, as a sort of source of encouragement. So don't forget to pass this message on to others who need to hear it. I've been reading Dolores Cannon a lot this week, and I was reminded in doing so, there was a sentence in one book that jumped out at me quite profoundly, that the more we engage with a feeling, with an emotion, the more we see it exhibit in the world. It's the old Hermetic Principle, as within, what we feel within is exhibited without. And this is a big basis for astrology, actually, the Hermetic Principles, especially the as above, so below. But as within, so without is very important to consider right now on the planet, because if we are feeling a emotional status of fear, then that's what we tend to see, the results of fear exhibit in our world. If we're feeling an emotion of love and gratitude and hopefulness, then we see the exhibition of those energies in our world. And the more people that are tapping into an energy of gratitude, of joy, of hope, of blossoming, of life, of giving, of kindness, the more we see those energies manifesting in stronger and stronger quantities on the earth as a collective, as well as in your individual lives. So I wanted to just bring this to light. We want to look for love. We want to look for the good. And I have Jupiter in my first house. I'm very Jupiterian. And so this is the perspective that I'm hoping that will come out in my astrology reading today. We want to look at these rather heavy duty energies that are playing out in the week ahead. We want to look through the lens of love. What can we learn from this? How can we grow from this? How can we generate an energy on the planet of more buoyancy and optimism, so that's what we end up with, rather than destruction, fear, war, cataclysms, trouble. So let's look at astrology this week through the lens of love. Let's also try and share that kind of energy with other people. Let's bring it into our lives. Let's look for ways to be grateful. Let's look for ways to be kind. Let's look for ways to be happy. You might like to start an Instagram feed of photographs that, little things every day that make you feel joyful. Maybe it's the lavender blooming in the front garden, or maybe it's a bird in a tree, or maybe it's, your little kid's gumboots sitting right next to yours and they look so cute. Like whatever is a little momentary flicker of that's joy, that's beautiful, that's happiness, then let's share it with the world. Let's generate more of that, so that the feelings that are within are exhibited in the external experiences that we all have. There are many ways to do this. I've just given you one example. Feel free to share other ideas in the comments section if you'd like to. Let's encourage one another to lift the vibration, as they say. So let's have a look at the astro weather for the week. How I work this, I will be looking to start with at the dates that things will be occurring and what will be occurring on those dates. I would encourage you to write down the dates that I'm talking about, so that you don't need to ask somebody in the comment section below, what dates is she talking about, because I go through it here and now in the first portion of this reading for you. So write down the dates so there's no confusion and you know what to expect and when to expect it. I'm using Australian Eastern Standard Time. If you are in another part of the world, you might need to look up when that time corresponds for you. Obviously, there are so many time zones in the world that if I was to sit here and list what time it will be occurring, what date it will be occurring for every single time zone in the world, we wouldn't get to the astro weather. So I'm using Australian Eastern Standard Time. When we in Australia, with every other astro report that comes from international sources, we have to look up, well, what time does that mean for us here? It's not a hard thing to do. Just jump on Google and you can find out. But usually we're looking at, the day I'm speaking of or the day before. So if I say the full moon is on the 2nd of October, here I'm talking about Australian Eastern Standard Time. For people in America who are a day, roughly 16 hours, depending where you are in America, behind us, that will usually fall around the 1st of October instead. So basically, we're looking at dates that are within a 1-day time frame of one another. 2nd of October means the 1st of October in some other parts of the world. So I hope I'm helping there. But seriously, if I just cannot list every single time zone. I know people want me to tell them what time it's happening in their particular part of the world, but it's just not practical to do that for everybody. So now that I've established how this works, and I'm sorry that I've had to go into that for some people, but the first energy we're going to experience is happening on the 3rd of October here in Australian Eastern Standard Time. Venus is moving into Virgo. Here we are here. Venus has been chuffing around Leo for quite some time, and now she's moving into Virgo, where she's going to be for the next few weeks. So this is going to be an important energy to note, because our Venusian experience, the energies of Venus, are going to be felt and experienced through the lens of Virgo, through the stained glass window of Virgo, if you like that analogy. Venus is the light of what she represents, or the things that Venus represents: money, relationships, love, self-worth, beautiful materiality and tangible life flowing through the lens this month of Virgo. I'll talk about what that's going to mean for us all in just a minute. Then on the 5th of October, Pluto, sitting over here, is going to turn direct, and he is the last, or she, depending on which school of astrology you're into. Pluto is considered to rule androgyny for people who are not familiar with that. So it could go either way. But Pluto will turn, if we're looking at ancient mythology, Pluto was the god of the underworld, so masculine. But yes, Pluto will turn direct. And so he is the final of these three, Saturn, Jupiter, and now Pluto, to turn direct. And they've all turned direct in the last roughly 2 weeks. Very important period of 2020, when we see these big restructuring planets, reorganizing collective planets, changing course, changing direction. So that is an important energy that we're going to explore as well, happening on the 5th of October. And finally, this week, the 8th of October, we are going to see retrograding Mars, who looks like he's going backwards in the sky, making a square aspect to Pluto in exactitude. Like they're sort of tangling within orb of one another for the rest of this year, actually. But the exact is going to be happening on the 8th of October. This is important. This is something that we need to be very aware of and navigate with great knowledge, great wisdom, and great, I would say, self-control. So we'll talk about that in a moment. We are coming out of the full moon that occurred on the 2nd of October in Aries full moon. I talked about that extensively in my full moon report, and how karmic it was and how it represents the fullness, the fruition, the fruiting phase of everything we've been through in the last 6 months. Very powerful full moon, and we're under that energy. We're feeling into that energy for the next 2 weeks. So everything I'm talking about here now is going to be under that cloak, under that banner of the full moon in Aries that occurred on the 2nd. If you want to know more about that, that report is up and available on my Patreon page. You can find that in the link below. With this full moon energy that has occurred, from now on, we're going to see things speed up. We're going to see actions and activities in the world take on a far more, top gear approach, going fast. It's like with all these planets retrograding and now turning direct, and the full moon now occurring in Aries, it's like up until now we've been stuck in molasses. We've been sort of moving slowly and dripping our way through, like, molasses that runs very, very slowly and drips its way down. And we have been sort of pushing through this stickiness, this heaviness, this restrictive energy. Now that this has occurred, this full moon, things start to have some momentum. And like I said, we move into top gear. So expect to see a lot of quick action now. If you feel angry, suddenly, boom, there is a place where that anger is directed externally. If you feel love, boom, quickly you will experience there is a place to direct my love and appreciation. Things happen quickly now. So while we might have been waiting for some kind of change in the political scene or some sort of change in the state with the lockdowns or viruses or, change in a state with our business or with our family or our employees or whatever it might be, and things might have been moving slowly in those realms, now things are going to happen quickly. Things are going to change fast from now till the end of the year, basically. That's what we're getting from this full moon from now on. Now, Venus, as I said, on the 3rd of October is moving into Virgo, and this is the high priestess energy. That's the archetype in archetypal astrology of Virgo, is the priest or the priestess. Somebody who's here to serve, somebody who's here to help, somebody who's here to fix, not George Pell disgusting kind of priest here. That's not what we're looking at. We are looking at people who are genuine and real and authentic about their service to the world. They want to help. They want to fix things. They want to make things right. Let me help you. Let me serve you, is the energy of the priest or the priestess archetype here in Virgo. Priestess energy. What does a priest or a priestess do? Well, they are devoted to their sacred work. That's essentially what this archetype is all about. And we need to break down, therefore, what is sacred work? Well, sacred work is where we jump out of bed in the morning, delighted to be doing what we're doing. Be that, putting on our suit and going to the office, or be that getting out our tools and working on the farm. Be that hosting an art exhibition, or be that working in a hospital. Like, it doesn't matter. Whatever gives us the zoom to get out of bed in the morning, that is our sacred work. And it doesn't have to be something that you get paid for. Your sacred work might be doing kind charitable acts for people that you care for, like making a casserole for the next door neighbor, or working on the PTA or something like that. Your sacred work is what gives you a buzz, what gives you joy, what makes you come alive. That's your sacred work. So under this energy of Virgo, we might be having a good look at what is our sacred work, what gives us joy, what buzzes us, what excites us. And this is exciting, actually, to tap back into this. Now, Venus isn't considered to be in good dignity in Virgo, but that doesn't mean that we cannot tap into the light side in the yin-yang symbol of what this energy represents. Basically, when something is not in good dignity, it just hasn't got enough oomph to be at its best. And we all have those days, don't we? We all have those days where we're just like, oh, I'm so tired, I think I'll just sleep in. Or I don't have what it takes to make a good Friday night dinner that's, cooked like a top-end restaurant. I think we'll just get takeaway. We all have those times. And Venus in Virgo is kind of going through this, I just don't have the energy to be at my best self. That's just what it means when a planet is not in its full dignity. But it doesn't mean that we don't get blessings from Venus in Virgo. And under this energy, it's a time for evaluating what gives you the oomph to get out of bed in the morning. What makes you want to, there's a house, the Virgo is associated with the sixth house, which is the house of work and daily routines. What in your daily life gives you the impetus to get out and get going and get started? Is it because maybe you like to create something? Is it because you like to design something? Is it because you like to serve? Is it because you like to contribute? Is it because you like to teach? Is it because you like to make things right and perfect things in the world? Where is that at for you? And we're going to be reevaluating that and going deep with that now. It's a time when Venus is in Virgo where we want to focus on relationships, but not just, oh, I want a relationship, or oh, my relationships like XYZ. No, it's about how can I make my relationship more balanced? We want to perfect the give and take qualities in our relationships, because Venus in Virgo wants a relationship that has mutual help and assistance. That's what it desires. Now, yes, Libra is the energy of harmony and balance, where things get to the point where they're harmonized and balanced in relationship. But what Venus in Virgo desires is to work with, do the sacred work with, somebody else mutually, where you're working on your daily life together, your daily routines together, how you serve the world together, what gives you a buzz. You're working on that together. Venus in Virgo wants relationships, because Venus rules relationships and connections, wants connections to focus on mutual helping, on sharing of responsibilities, and on sharing of duties and roles. So you might be reevaluating that in your current relationship. Or if you're looking for a partnership, you might start to prioritize that. Well, how are they contributing to my life and making it better? How can I contribute to their life and make it better? That might become a strong issue for you in your quest for love. Again, I'm not talking about, you've got to share the same workplace or share, the same, like putting on the suit every morning and going to the office. That's not what I'm talking about here. You can have a mutual love of a similar sacred work, and it might be pottering in the garden on weekends. That might be the mutual love you share with your partner. It might be that you enjoy painting together, doing some artworks together, and you want to, maybe aspire to host an exhibition together, the two of you. That might be your mutual sacred work. So sacred work is a very broad and all-encompassing thing that is very personal to an individual. And what we want when Venus is in Virgo is to connect with someone who shares our love and desire for fulfilling a sacred work. So that's what we're looking at, and that will become a priority this month. Maybe you'd like to look at your relationships and say, okay, how is this fulfilling what I consider to be my sacred work? I'll give you an example, and I've given this example in some readings before, where my ex-husband and I, we didn't work in the same field, very, very different fields. But our sacred work, the thing we love to do, the thing that sort of got us up and at 'em every morning or every weekend or after work, was doing renovations. We love to flip properties. I love to renovate a garden, and he was into the practical skill sets of the home. And together, that was our sacred work that we loved to do as one in the relationship. What is your sacred work in your relationship? And Venus is relationships with, like lovers, but it does also represent relationships with women as well. So where do you share a mutual bond of sacred work with the women in your life as well? Maybe you might be looking at that now too. Venus represents money. And, spending money under the influence of Venus in Virgo, that's kind of almost a contradiction, because it's not that Virgo is frugal, but they are very practical and wise about how they deal with material matter. It is an earth sign after all. And Virgo wants perfection. Virgo wants practicality and usefulness and purpose. And here in this earth sign, anything of a material nature, when Venus is there, must fit that practical, purposeful nature. So the things you spend your money on now, you'll want them to be practical and serviceable and useful, or you probably won't spend money at all. Frugality is important. You might sort of adopt a more make, do and mend kind of approach for the duration of Venus in Virgo for the next couple of weeks. You know what? I don't need that new couch, but maybe I could recover those cushions. That might be more your approach to things. It's a time when Venus is in Virgo for practicing your nana skills, the knitting, the sewing, make, do and mend kind of nana skills, and transforming things or working with things in a very practical, useful way. And it doesn't mean that they're not beautiful. They are. Venus is beautiful, and Virgo actually really does appreciate beauty, but it must also have a practical, useful purpose as well. So these are some themes at this time also. You might be more focused now on home cooking, generating your own food, creating self-sufficiency, because Venus is food. Venus has connections to gardening, and of course Virgo is very practical as well, and Virgo actually is connected to cooking. So you've got the planet of food that rules food, particularly sweet food, I might add too. It doesn't rule all food, I should have added, it is sweet food, in the sign of cooking. So you might be cooking a cake, or you might be creating a fruit salad or something, and a lot of emphasis on the food that you eat in a practical way and being useful, and with food maybe starting a vegetable garden or growing herbs or something like that on the windowsill. So these are some themes, some ideas that come out of Venus's sojourn through Virgo, the money, the relationships, and the sacred work that connect in with Venus-Virgo themes. So the next energy that we're going to explore is Pluto turning direct. Now, as I said, this is happening on the 5th of October. Pluto, when he is retrograde, and he's been retrograde for a little over 6 months, is always more intense when he's retrograde, because it's at that point that he's closer. I mean, he's a long way away just the same, but he is at his closer point to us. And so because Pluto is a planet that represents our deep inner psyche, our psychological woundings and traumas, he represents the catharsis of those things, the transformation in our lives of those things. We can expect when Pluto is retrograde, which he's coming out of this week, that he will display as psychological intensity. And haven't we had an extended period of psychological intensity? I spoke in the beginning of this weather report about generating an energy of fear, and then that results in our external reality. Well, Pluto, when he is retrograde, generates a psychological energy. And it's up to us, we still have free will, what energy that is exhibiting. Now, we've seen an energy of concern and fear upon the planet for the last 6 months. We are about to move out of that psychological focus on our inner energy, our inner fears and traumas and worries and reactivity. So ask yourself at this time, can you see any ways in your life where you have been feeling paranoid or anxious or suspicious, these deep psychological intense feelings that correlate to Pluto? I'll put my hand up and say, yeah, I've felt jealousy, I've felt suspicion, I've felt even a bit ruthless, which is also an energy of Pluto, in my dealings, particularly with other people during this period. This is all for me happening in the house of large groups, friendships, my 11th house. So, you might like to ask yourself, where in life have you been feeling, if you have, any of these Plutonian deep psychological energies? And then practice gratitude. And I tell you why, because we're turning direct. Pluto's turning direct now. You've actually learnt lessons. If you can detach, especially this year with Saturn so close, Saturn is detachment. If you can detach from those areas of suspicion or paranoia or whatever that you've been experiencing, and you can see them for what they are, then you transform them. So you detach and say, well, look, I was jealous of this person, or I had this feeling of intensity around this situation. Why did I feel that? And was that real? Was that the truth? The answer more often than not is that it's actually just a thought that you've had or a feeling that you've had, and it isn't actually the truth. You had no reason to be jealous, or you had no reason to be reactive to or ruthless in a certain situation. Sometimes you will have had reason. I'm not saying that for everybody. It's not pertinent. But by detaching, we get a better perspective. If we take ourselves out of the emotion, out of the mental programming, we tend to see that things aren't quite as horrific as we thought, and the intensity is reduced. I think we can be thankful for Pluto's retrograde period, even despite this intensity, because it also correlates with doing deep inner psychological work that needs to have been done. And that's revealed to us. That's what Pluto likes to do. He likes to expose things to the truth. By feeling jealous, that exposes truth to us. Why am I jealous of that person? Let's detach. Let's have a think. Why is that feeling there? Oh my God, I'm jealous of that person because maybe they are more intelligent than me, or they've had different opportunities than what I've had, and I would like those opportunities. Our feelings and intensity can often be guiding lights for how we might want to improve and change and redirect our own life. Okay, well, I'm going to go and study some more, or I'm going to take more opportunities so that I have no need to be jealous of this person in the future, for example. So we can thank Pluto for the lessons under this sky that he's brought us during the retrograde season, where we've done some deep, intense work on our inner self, uncovering hidden truths about ourselves, coming to terms with emotional intensity. Healing from karmic wounds is a Pluto thing, karmic wounds and traumas, and transforming our life. And my God, haven't we all been transformed this year in 2020? Thank you, Pluto. I think there is value in this, purpose in this, and hope in this. It is not, oh, we've been transformed and now everything's gone down the toilet. I think that this is a time when the transformation can lead us to higher ground, and let's hope it does. We're still in the process, but certainly the intensity of the retrograde period is where we've done the deepest work. So give thanks for this process. Even if you want to do a little ceremony, I intend to do that myself on the day Pluto goes direct. I intend to do a ceremony of gratitude because I want to work with these energies to the highest level. Now, when Pluto goes direct, this intensity that he represents gets shifted, externalized now. And it becomes all about external power. That's where the focus goes. So we might see from now on a greater push for power in the people, the collective, society in general, but also from top-down authority structures. It is happening in Capricorn, after all. So we might see a greater push at this time for coming under the thumb by authority structures. Just a heads up. But I want you to know, by the end of the year, this will change. When Jupiter and Saturn move out into Aquarius. It's just very intense in the hierarchical theme of Capricorn at the moment. But don't be surprised if we do see a push for more external power from those in authority with Pluto going direct. But the good thing is that we will also experience more power and self-assertion in our own individual lives as well, because yes, this is affecting the collective, but it's also affecting each individual on the planet. So you might find that you have a bit more self-assertion now, a bit more self-will now, a bit more determination for whatever it is that you want to accomplish in life now, in your personal life. So wherever you've been feeling out of control for the last little while, Pluto internalized, Pluto has control issues. Where you've been feeling out of control, now is the time with Pluto going direct that you can embrace more self-mastery and more control over your own individual life, which is good news for a lot of people. Do be careful though, the time for inner transformation is wrapping up with now, and we're moving to a more externalized focus. So what you've transformed inwardly is now going to start exhibiting externally in your life. Now, for some people, maybe you have, under Pluto's retrograde period, maybe you've ended a relationship. But what that's done is transformed what you will and will not take on board for the future. And so you've transformed your standards regarding relationship. You've transformed what you want from a relationship, and now you might start to see that exhibit in your external reality, where what you really want and what you really need to experience starts to manifest now. Maybe your career has been transformed during Pluto retrograde, and now that Pluto turns direct, you start to see the momentum of, new career direction, new opportunities out in the public realm. it could happen in various different areas of life, with children, with lovers, with partners, with business associates, with the relationship in your domestic environment, your home, your community. Like, I could go on and on with the various different fields of life that this might manifest. But it's now time for momentum in some area because it's been transformed. We're going to see the external results now. Now, again, people who have a more ruthless nature at this time, generally more ruthless, more I will crawl all over everybody else until I scramble to the top and I don't care whose fingers I tread on. People like that might exhibit more of those tendencies now under this energy. In their quest for more externalized power, now that Pluto's turning direct, people with a ruthless disposition might start to show it more, show their fangs a bit more. Okay, so be aware of that in your circle, in your environment, in your workplace, wherever or in yourself, I might add as well. You might, if you have ruthless tendencies, start to see that a little more. But those people with a more of a genteel approach, a more like a kindly, compassionate approach to life might notice that they experience more drive now, more ambition, more determination in a way that isn't their usual self, So in that sense, it can be beneficial for you. If you're a bit more passive, this can give you the fire in the belly to get out there and get moving and make things happen. So it can, and there's various, like pretend that's a polaric line. You've got ruthless people at one end and then super passive people at the other. And we all fall somewhere in between. So we're going to get more of this Pluto energy that I've just described at somewhere along this polaric line where we sit. So that is what we're going to see this week from Pluto turning direct. So keep an eye on what's happening out in the world at large, but also look inward. That's what Pluto really calls us to do more than anything. There is actually going to be a massive drive for transformation, crisis even in our own lives that leads to rebirth and regeneration this week from the 6th of October through to the 10th. These days are going to be, and that's the period that I'm looking at, so it might carry on a bit longer, but these days are going to be very important for transformation because during this time, there will be 8 signs occupied by planets. So not only are we having Pluto going direct, that's going to cause this transformation and change of momentum, but we're going to have 8 signs occupied, which is always a signature for collective transformation when we're looking at a general read like this, as well as transformation in the personal life and what's going on in the personal life. So basically a big week of transformation. As you can see, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8 signs containing a planet. 8 signs occupied, meaning a theme of 8th house. And of course, that is transformation, change, rebirth, and growth. So expect that that's going to be very much on the cards for us all this week, a big rebirthing. And now to the one that has been tangoing and playing out for a long time now, like for the last couple of weeks and months. Aries Mars making a square to Pluto in Capricorn. It's going exact this week, as I said, on the 8th of October. So what does this bring us individually and what will we observe in the collective? Well, we'll feel strong and empowered because of this, but it's a square aspect and it's Mars impulsivity and Pluto control and intensity. Our strength and our empowerment can often be misguided and misdirected. So, if we were the head of a country, we might think, right, we've got to crack down on whatever it happens to be. Got to get tough. And let me say that strength and that exertion of power, if you're the head of a country under this influence on this particular day, the 8th of October, could be very misguided, the totally wrong action to take. So think twice about your actions and get advice from all sources. Don't just rely on your own feeling to guide you on this day, because it could be very misdirected. So the personal and the collective desires that we experience as people, they probably don't mingle very well under this, because Pluto is the collective willpower and Mars is the personal willpower, and here they're in a very tense angle with one another. So you might find, and I find this happen, I don't have this in my natal chart, but my God, I feel like I probably should have. Touch wood, I never will. But this is an energy where, the way I feel about society seems to always be at odds with what everybody else thinks. Interestingly enough, I had a channeling session this week and was advised about the energy of people in Melbourne. There's a massive amount of people in Melbourne who are sheep, who are, happy to be under rule and authority. They don't think for themselves. It was a very interesting channeling session, let me tell you. So that's not coming from my mouth. That's what the entity that was being channeled expressed. And I've always felt at real odds with that kind of behavior, because I want to think for myself. I want to know for myself. I want to make decisions for myself. So that's just an example of how my perception and my self-will for life is at odds with the will of the collective where I live. So I hope you're getting the gist here. On this particular day, you might notice that your willpower and your desires are at very different odds with the collective, and you'll probably feel it strongly on this day. There's not a good mingling. Now that can obviously lead to tensions in the world and tensions in your personal life. Knowledge is power. When we know that's what is going on, we've got what it takes to just say, hey, this is Pluto Mars, write it out, let it go, don't get too head up about it, breathe, center, ground myself, and just keep going, get on with my life and not be, don't allow yourself to get upset by this lack of desires sort of mingling well with the collective. This is an energy that will test our morale, and I've kind of alluded to why just then. When we feel that we're not getting anywhere, that the rest of the world thinks differently to me, and I'm always being attacked, and when we feel that way, we just why bother? Why should I care? I want goodness, kindness, love, gentility, and the world seems to want bullies and hatred and debates that are like kids in a schoolyard. That's what the world seems to be, and I don't align with that, and what the hell, and we can lose our morale. So if you're feeling like that on the 8th of October, remember my voice telling you that it's just a cycle and it will pass, and do what you need to do to sort of lift your energy. Watch a good movie or a comedy, read a good book, fart about in the garden for a bit if that's what does it for you. Do whatever you need to be able to just be centered and not to sort of go down that rabbit hole of why bother, I don't want to be here, I hate this world, blah, blah, blah. Pluto and Mars squaring off in this way is also an energy representative of having hidden agendas. So people around you will have hidden agendas. Insincerity is a representation of this energy as well, and being at war with people in our lives. So we might, have some animosity with our brother, or we might butt heads with our colleague at work or something. This is the representation of this energy. But I've got to remind you, Mars is still retrograding. It is not time to instigate, get my words out, to instigate conflict and adversarial actions of animosity, I'll say, instead. Get my mental processes going. It's time for avoiding conflict at all costs. Very important that we remember this as the rest of this year carries on. We want to remain as a globe, as well as in our personal lives, in a state of harmony and balance. We don't want to dissolve into animosity, conflict and war under this energy, and it's going to require a lot of strength for us to do so, but we must keep trying to achieve this under this Mars retrograde energy. So don't be surprised if you see people sort of displaying, power hungriness and need for control and need for dominance. That is going to be happening. You might even see it in yourself. I have to make sure my ex-husband knows that I'm in charge. Or, any situation. That boss who fired me unjustly, I'm gonna, these kinds of things are energies that we might find coming up in us right now under this energy. We want revenge, we want dominance, we want control, we want to show them who's boss. Be careful about going down that rabbit hole. We've seen this energy all year. Keep on responding with patience, keep on responding with Saturnian endurance of what is. Also, keep on responding with faith and compassion. Jupiter is in this mix as well. And the more we tap into those energies at this time, the more we can overcome this challenging aspect. For some people, they might find themselves in some situations that are a bit more risky. There might be some accidents that people are prone to, so do be careful about whatever you're doing on this day. And look, these will usually come from being too impulsive, which is a Mars energy, being too reactive, and couple that with the intensity of Pluto, and we can see accidents. I'm driving down the highway, someone cuts me off, I get reactive and give them the bird, they pull over and start abusing me. We can get involved in accidents by our reactivity or our impulsiveness. So what's the solution to that? Just to be more thoughtful, to be more careful, to consider things before we act instead of just jumping on in. One of the strategies, one of the solutions for this energy is to direct self-control externally and self-mastery and power into your own life on this day. Focus on gaining power in your own world, on controlling your own life, on developing self-mastery in your own emotions first, and then you will have the maturity that it takes to try and affect things in your immediate external environment as well. So don't go looking to control or dominate other people on this day, because it will backfire. You will only have a positive influence on people's lives out there in the world, out of you, after your own life becomes balanced, harmonized, and self-empowered under this energy. So that's where you've got to focus this, on yourself, and then externally things shift. So let's do a swing around the horoscope. We're going to be taking a peek now at what Pluto turning direct is going to mean in everybody's lives, and where power is now going to be directed externally. So you're probably going to notice that there will be a lot of similarities this week to what I talked about last week. And that's because I talked about Saturn going direct last week, and now I'm talking about Pluto going direct in the same sign and house. So there's a continuation of momentum that was talked about that's going to flow on this week. In fact, it's going to get a lot more intense this week. So I'm reiterating and going over the same thing, but I hope it has meaning and substance for you. And so let's start with Sagittarius. Pluto is turning direct for anyone with Sagittarius rising, sun, or moon. Pluto is turning direct here in Capricorn, your second house. This is where you're going to notice power being externalized. You've done the internal work for the last 6 months plus, when Pluto has been retrograding here, and you have dealt with things intensely. You have looked at where you've been jealous of people with money, with resources, and looked at perhaps a sense of maybe control issues around money that's been transformed within you over the last 6 months or so. Now, when we see Pluto going direct in the second house, this transforms into some sort of external manifestation. You're going to have more power over your money now. You're going to have more willpower that you can put into the creation of resources now, more drive, more ambition that you can direct into creating money or generating more from your investments, or even creating more sense of self-worth and self-value for yourself now. Now the action, the momentum moves forward. No more going backwards, no more feeling stuck, no more sort of focusing on the intense, deep psychological work. Now it's about empowering yourself with self-worth and self-value and material goods to support your body's journey through life. That's where the focus is from now on when Pluto turns direct. For Capricorn rising people, well, this is obviously happening in your first house, and boy, haven't you guys had a big year of action. Well, this is where the power is now going to become more externalized. So for the last 6 months or so that Pluto has been retrograding, you've been going in, refining who you are, looking at where you're jealous, looking at where there's intensity, where control issues in your psyche, and healing those and transforming those. Some of you might have done past life regression work. Some of you might have done shamanic healing. Some of you might have seen a psychologist or read psychologically helpful books, doing the deep inner psychological transformation of self. Now, when Pluto turns direct, away you go. You're often running with the change that has brought within you, manifesting in external reality. So now you've got the willpower and the external power to change your world to what you want it to be as a reflection of what has changed within you now. So, I mean, for an example, that might mean something about your body, because the first house is the house of the body. So it might be that you've been assessing, where your body hasn't been healthy enough. You've been working on those issues where your mental health has been struggling and then affecting your body's condition and so on. And now when Pluto goes direct, you've got what it takes. Okay, I'm going to make sure that I jog every day because I want to get my heart rate up. Or I'm going to do some gentle swimming every day because it's going to be so much better for my body. Or I'm going to eat cleaner. Or I'm going to take, better care of my hair, or my, review my hormones, or whatever it happens to be. First house, health of the body. You've got momentum with Pluto going direct there now to bring more self-control and power and personal mastery over your body, but also over your life in general, which is a first house thing. The journey in the physical realm is a first house thing. And you've got more mastery there now with Pluto going direct. Bonus. Okay, for Aquarius rising people, Pluto is turning direct in your 12th house. And so this is where you are going to be experiencing, if you're Aquarius sun, moon, or rising in whole sign astrology, this is where you're going to be experiencing more power at an external level. You guys particularly have done a lot of deep, intense work for the last 6 months when Pluto's been retrograding here. You've done deep, intense work transforming old fears, old phobias, old traumas, probably from past lives. Deep, intense transformation for Aquarian people in 2020. On an internal level and a past life level, because 12th house is past lives. With Pluto turning direct, that work that you've done is now going to manifest in external reality. So maybe you had a relationship this year with somebody and it was very karmic, and you might not have known that, but maybe it was. Now with Pluto going direct, you know what you want in a relationship now. You've cut old karmic ties and healed old karmic traumas that relationship might have brought on from a previous life. Or if you don't believe in reincarnation, it might be a reflection of relationships that you have experienced from the early part of life that have wounded you. And you've healed those traumas. You've healed those wounds. Now Pluto goes direct. You know what you want, and it starts to manifest in reality. You've transformed the self. Now you can experience the momentum of having the results of that internal transformation from a karmic life lesson. I've just used a relationship as an example, but it could have been any karmic life lesson that you've been here to learn. So for you guys, it's a very powerful change of direction that Pluto will bring you this year. Very empowering, very much about gaining mastery over your spiritual life and your spiritual self, your subconscious self. There's mastery here now with Pluto going direct. There's also self-mastery and control of the external circumstances with regard to creativity as well. So you might find yourself having more momentum around your personal creativity and about expressing your feeling through creative means. You might start writing a wonderful poem or a film script, or you might start designing something that comes completely from beyond you, and it's a result of this inner healing that's taken place in you, that's allowed the energy of the universe to flow through you now and express to the world. So you might also, Aquarian people, find that you might have more of an opportunity to tap out of society now. You probably have been sort of tapping out of society internally for the last 6 months. Now you can physically tap out a little bit, maybe taking a holiday, going on a retreat, going to a day spa or something. So while you've spent 6 months doing some internal review and tapping out internally, now it's going to happen for you. The momentum for that removal from mainstream society will happen in more of the physical realm with Pluto going direct. Okay, Pisces rising or sun or moon. Well, we've got Pluto turning direct in our 11th house. So we have done a lot of internal refinement and transformation with friends, with large groups, with organizations, with with our goals, our dreams, and our aspirations. I can vouch for this. There's been a lot of purification of those things going on at an internal level. Now with Pluto going direct, for Pisces people, this is going to exhibit in external reality. You've made the decision, okay, I've needed to purge, Pluto, these particular people out of my life because they drain my energy. That's like, this is the house of friendships, social connections at a large scale, internet relationships and internet groups. You might have completely left a ton of, astrological discussion groups and thought, oh, this is just not me. And, over the last 6 months, refined that, purified that, excreted a lot of that out of your life. Now it's all about, okay, what do I really want from an astrological group and an astrological connection online? So that's an example. Maybe your dreams and goals have been refined and now you know more what you want, and it's going to manifest for you more now in external reality. Maybe you've been dealing with clients in a certain way and you've refined that process, what you want internally for the last 6 months. Now Pluto goes direct, you put it in place. Okay, now it's going to be, this is how I'll deal with clients from now on. Not like I used to, but now like this. So your dreams and goals and aspirations for how you work in the world and what generates money for you has gone through a refining process and is now coming out the other side with more momentum in the physical realm as Pluto turns direct. You'll also have more power now over your association with friendship groups or your connections in systems and online. You'll also have more control, more personal power with regard to your dreams and ambitions. You will, you won't be sort of so prone to the whims of, life. You will have more ability to sort of say, well, I would like to achieve this, and then achieve it when Pluto is direct in your 11th house of dreams, goals, aspirations, and gains. So in that sense, for Pisces people, it's a beautiful energetic change that's going to help you a lot. Okay, for Aries rising people, or sun or moon, this energy is falling for you in your 10th house. So for Aries rising, we've got Pluto turning direct in the 10th house. And that means this is where you are going to experience a more externalized power now. What that means is you've been probably dealing with issues of your own power, your own self-will in terms of career, achievement, aspirations, creating a legacy, relationship with authority figures. Now, that refining process, that cleansing process that's been going on internally for 6 months is exhibited externally for you now. And now you will start to see change. You'll have more power and control over your career, over your position of authority in the world, over your reputation. Pluto turning direct here gives you a more external presence of power that's visible to the world. This is an angular house, a very important house. So for Aries rising people, very, very pivotal position to be experiencing more power, more mastery in an external way. So you might get that promotion, you might have more control over what, you're working for someone and they say you must do this, you must do that, and you're like, hang on, I can only cope with so much and I will only do this. So you have more mastery, more control, more of a say about how you're showing up in the external world manifests. You might have been feeling out of control with career in some way, or with authority figures or something. Now with this change of direction, you're going to feel more in charge, more in control, not so much at the whims of other authority figures or at the whims of whatever's happening in your career. Now you're going to be able to pull it together and say, well, I've got this. I can direct this how I want. I have the mastery. Pluto going direct, feeling more in control of your career. Taurus rising people, well, this energy is falling in your 9th house. Just get that to sit straight there. Falling here in your 9th house, and this is Pluto going direct in your 9th house, which means that this is where you're going to start to feel more externalized power. You might have felt out of control regarding 9th house things for the last 6 months or so, and now self-mastery is coming back. So maybe that was with a university course or some sort of higher learning that you were undertaking. You felt out of control with it. You felt like, I don't know what's going on. Is this course going to even be here next year? I know that's a thing for a lot of Australian people. The university system is really floundering because of what's happened with the COVID-19. And, am I even going to be able to do the course that I want? There may have been a lot of confusion, a lot of feeling like you're out of control with that sort of thing. And now Pluto goes direct, you're going to be like, well, hang on, I know exactly what I'm going to do. I know what course I'm going to do. I'll study astrology internationally and then it won't matter, or you'll look online or something like that, and you will find a way to bring some sense of mastery and control back into your studies, higher learning, creating more knowledge for yourself. Now, it doesn't mean I'm just using that as an illustration, the official university system. It could be anything. You might have felt a bit out of control with some other type of access to higher knowledge. Now you're going to have more mastery. You might have felt out of control with regard to other cultures too. I mean, we've all felt that this year, my God. We in Australia don't have a say about what's happening in America. People in France don't have a say about what's happening here in Australia. We're out of control with regard to our impact on other countries and other cultures. So with Pluto going direct, it's not that we're going to suddenly have mastery and control over other cultures, but it's not going to affect us so internally any longer when we're Taurus rising, sun or moon. We're not going to be so, for the last 6 months, we might have felt it really deeply when another country was suffering, when another culture was suffering, when there was some sort of difficulties or challenges that another culture or a people group was experiencing. Now we're going to have more mastery over how we feel about those things. You know what? I can't affect the state of the bushfires in California, so I'll just do what I can. As Voltaire said, I'll water my own garden or tend to my own garden and look after my life. And if I need to sort of donate some money to somebody who's suffering or some culture that's struggling or something, then I'll do that. But I'm going to look after me, and I'm not going to be so blown about by the winds of fear regarding other cultures and what's going on in other cultures. So this Pluto going direct can make things a lot easier to bear with regard to the global perspective and what's happening in the world. And it might have been very hard for you, Taurian people, with this. You might have been feeling it probably more than any other sign for the last 6 months, very intensely. The suffering on the planet, the difficulties culturally and cross-culturally of people, that will have been being felt quite profoundly for you. Now you actually can not so much step into peace, but step into a knowingness, more of a self-mastery of your own intensity regarding cultural situations and circumstances on the globe. So that's just a brief look at what Taurian people might be experiencing. For Gemini rising or sun or moon, we see that this energy is falling in the 8th house over here. Pluto is turning direct here. And this is the realm where you're going to have more external power now, more self-mastery. Now, you might have felt out of control in this realm for the last 6 months. Now it's all starting to gel for you. You're going to feel a bit more momentum around these things. So you've done the internal purging and releasing, and now it's time to move forward. 8th house realms are really connected to the shadow side of who we are. You guys, Gemini people, have probably done a ton of work on dealing with your shadow side, doing the shadow work, as my beautiful shaman Tessa shared in her recent video on my channel about how to do shadow work. You guys have probably done a ton of shadow work for the last 6 months, transforming your inner self, transforming hidden wounds and fears, phobias, inner struggles at a deep, deep psychological level, which is probably a bit of an unusual experience for the more light-hearted Gemini people. But we all have to go through this, and so certainly with Pluto retrograde here, this is what you've been focusing on. So there's probably now, with Pluto going direct, the chance for you to transform this internal process of purging, releasing, getting rid of the shadow side, doing the shadow work, looking at your psychological self, and turn that into action. You know, you might have been healing from some trauma. Now, with Pluto going direct, the trauma is, I was going to say patched up, but the trauma is dealt with. And now you can move forward with more light in the world. Because this is a house of traumas, crisis, wounding from our subconscious. This is, the 8th house has to do with other people's resources and maybe community property as well. That might have been feeling like it's a bit out of control for you. You know, maybe there was a will or a, some sort of inheritance that you were due, or some sort of tax situation, and it felt like it was out of control. Pluto is control. When he's retrograde, that can feel like that. And then now Pluto goes direct, you get the chance to get some mastery over that now, to feel in control, to feel not so freaked out about something to do with external resources of other people, managing other people's money, dealing with taxes, dealing with insurances, dealing with all of those sorts of things. Now there is more mastery in that realm. This is also a house of intimacy, and that might be an area where you felt out of control, like you had no say, that you weren't being listened to, that things were not, you weren't able to sort of assert your willpower in the realm of intimacy with in a relationship. And by intimacy, I don't just mean sex, although it's obviously that as well, but intimacy is a deep, intimate relationship where you share your soul, you share your heart, you be completely naked in every sense of the word with the other person. So it's in that realm where things may have been feeling a bit out of control for 6 months or so. Now it's starting to move forward, and the changes that has brought, that the lessons that has taught you now allow you to move forward in relationship, saying, okay, I'm not going to tolerate that anymore, or I need this, or this is how it should work in relationship. You have more mastery, more control, more self-assertion now in the field of relationships and intimacy. For Cancer rising people, it's also applicable, perhaps not so much in terms of the sexual realm, but the relational realm. 8th house is intimacy for Gemini people. For Cancer people, we're looking in the house of connection and relationship and partnership with others, all others. So Pluto going direct here in the 7th house for Cancer rising, sun or moon people means more self-mastery in how you deal with other people now. For 6 months or so, you might have felt out of control. You might have felt like this is not making sense, this relationship, or I don't know where I stand with my business partner, or I'm feeling like I've been taken advantage of, or maybe I feel jealous of my business partner or my marriage partner or something like that. We have probably felt a bit out of control. We've probably felt very intense feelings around our relationships, our commitments, and our contractual agreements as well. Now, when Pluto goes direct this week, we're going to be able to feel like we're more in control. more self-mastery. Okay, I don't feel so lost with this relationship. I don't feel so dominated. I don't feel so jealous in this relationship. I understand, I can see clearly. I'm going to move forward now with things. You've transformed things with Pluto going retrograde internally, and now that starts to exhibit externally, more mastery. You know, your partner asks you if you would do X, Y, and Z, and you can say, no, sorry, not going to, instead of feeling manipulated or coerced or something. There is more strength, more self-mastery, more self-assertion now in the field of relationships. And for Cancer rising people, that's probably quite a good thing. They need that. It's a healthy thing to have appropriate boundaries, and Pluto turning direct is going to give you that. For Leo rising people, this energy of Pluto going direct is falling for you, whoopsies, there we are, in the 5th house. So this is where you're going to feel more, your power becoming more externalized. This is where you're going to feel more self-mastery now, more in charge of things. Maybe for the last 6 months, things have been feeling a bit out of control with your daily life, your daily routine, you know. I mean, Leo, the analogy of Leo is like the lion. It likes to sort of lay in the sun, you know, and sort of move on its own terms, in its own agenda, in its own time, in its own way. It's very autonomous. And maybe for the last 6 months, you felt a bit out of control and lacked the ability to be able to do that, to do things on your own terms. Oh, hang on, now I've got to buckle under and do this or do that, or fit in with this person, or, you know, sort of navigate things in a way I'm not really used to. You might have felt very out of control with your daily routine, with your work, with your health, with your diet, all these 6th house realms, with how you're serving in the world. It could have felt quite out of control. And now with Pluto turning direct, you get your mastery back. So you know what? Okay, I can have a better work-life balance where I take time for me to laze in the sun like the lion, and I can have the time to do the work that's required of me. The balance comes back, or the not so much balance rather in the 6th house, but more like the control and mastery of your daily routine comes back. You don't feel so out of control. Now, more control and mastery of your health and your well-being and your diet and your ability to exercise comes back. I mean, let's face it, for Leo people who are in Melbourne in Australia, who've been in lockdown, who haven't been able to exercise, they will have for sure felt like, I'm out of control here. Ordinarily, I spend 3 nights a week at the gym. I can't do that. I don't have control over my ability to exercise the way I'm used to. Who's to say, but on with Pluto turning direct, they are going to be able to feel more like they have control over their ability to exercise. Now, it doesn't mean the gyms are going to open, but it might mean that they find a mechanism that allows them to exercise that brings satisfaction. Maybe they, you know, finally that home gym equipment that they purchased online shows up and they can start back exercising now. So Pluto going direct can give you more mastery of a very practical realm of life, your everyday routines, your diet, your health, your well-being, your exercise, maybe even mastery over an illness or a sickness as well for Leo rising people. So that's good news. And for Virgo rising people, well, this energy of Pluto going direct for Virgo rising, sun or moon is falling for you in the 5th house. And of course, this is a realm where you are going to now experience more power that is externalized. You've probably spent 6 months or so doing some deep internal work, some purging, some releasing, as Pluto is known for, doing some deep psychological work around 5th house realms. You know, maybe, doing some deep psychological work about your relationship with fame. You know, I want to be famous, but there's a part of me that psychologically self-sabotages every time that, you know, I seek fame or notoriety. This is a house of celebrity, of course. Maybe they've been doing some deep psychological work around a love dynamic. What is love? How am I loved? Why have I not been loved? You know, doing some deep psychological processes that you've been addressing here. And maybe there's been some kind of deep psychological process, and maybe you've been feeling a bit out of control with your ability to express your creative intelligence, You've had all this knowledge and wisdom or creative intuition that you've wanted to share with the world, and people have just flat out rejected it. I don't want it, no. And you're like, I don't feel like I have control over my self-expression here. People don't respond to my self-expression. People aren't interested in the literature that I write. People don't like the paintings that I do. What is going on? You may have felt out of control and had a lack of self-mastery over your ability to share and express with the world. So now it's a chance for your expression of self to go direct and have more momentum, and you can have more self-mastery. I'm not saying that it's necessarily an energy of being misunderstood or coming across all wrong. That's the other planets would be involved for that kind of thing. But you yourself, Virgo rising people, are going to have more mastery over how you express to the world. And when you have more mastery, obviously then people understand you better. It's not like you have no control over how you express yourself to the world, and people are left scratching their heads like, what the hell do they mean by that? And how rude of them. And wow, they're a real tosser, aren't they? Instead of that, now people are like, I get where you're coming from. Your self-expression, you have more control over it. You're more aligned with what you want to express. And I'm not just talking about words here, because it's not necessarily words in this house. It's about your art and your creativity in general, your expression of beauty, your expression of thought, your expression of ideas. Creative intelligence is seen through the 5th house, and that comes out in all sorts of ways. Words, thoughts, ideas, artistic expression, design, beauty. This all comes out of the 5th house. So here is where you Virgo rising people are going to have more momentum, more direction, more mastery of how you express to the world. So there's going to be less opportunity for being misunderstood, less opportunity for putting your foot in your mouth or being rejected, less opportunity for stuffing things up with a love relationship, or less opportunity for feeling out of control with your children. Now there is more mastery. So for Virgo rising people, enjoy the self-mastery that's coming, and that's going to therefore bless your creativity, your relationships with lovers, partners and romance, and enjoy the increase in power that could actually maybe allow you to take further steps towards celebrity, if that's something that you desire, because 5th house is celebrity. Okay, Libra rising people. Well, the energy of Pluto turning direct is falling for you in the 4th house. So you're going to notice that this is an area of life where you have been releasing, purging, doing some deep introspective work and some psychological work over the last 6 months. And this is in one of the most deepest psychological houses, the 4th house. And now you're going to get a chance to move forward with that energy, to transform, well, not to transform, but to take all the transformation that's happened and bring it out into an external reality. You, more than anyone, may have probably felt a bit out of control in your domestic life, in your home life, like you weren't able to sort of have as much mastery as you might have wanted in the realm of home. Things are going wrong, mistakes are being made, or perhaps a relationship with family just didn't feel quite aligned or something like that, and you felt like you didn't have any control or mastery over that area of life. But now when Pluto turns direct, we can start to feel more external power, like, you know what, that leaky roof, I can sort that out, I can deal with that, I've got more mastery now, I know what to do, I'll go and sort out that leaky roof in my home. Or this domestic situation with my family, my children, I felt like, that my kids were going crazy and I had no control over them for the last 6 months. And, certainly people in lockdown have experienced that. Kids weren't going to school in the regular way, so things were a bit out of control. Now, with Pluto turning direct, more mastery, more control, and more external power in that area of life. And that's obviously a beautiful blessing. You're like, okay, now I can manage what's going on with my children. Now I can manage, and now I feel more in control of the situation at home, or with my mother, or with property or land. There is just an energy now where you're going to feel more in control. Libra, rising, sun or moon people, with your domestic environment, with property and land, and with family issues. So yay, thanks be to Pluto turning direct. Scorpio, rising, sun or moon. Well, for you guys, and we're winding up here. Thanks for sticking with us, Scorpio. For you guys, the energy of Pluto turning direct is falling for you in the 3rd house. Well, this is where you may have been feeling out of control for the last 6 months or so. Well, Pluto has been retrograding here, and Pluto is power, control. And you might have felt like, I have no control over my relationship with my siblings, or I feel like I am being manipulated by my siblings, or by my co-workers, or maybe there was a lack of power in terms of your ability to learn something, some new skills. Your ability to network might have been impeded. Maybe you felt powerless because an advertising company was running away with your money, spending all your money in a way that you were like, hang on a minute, because this is a house of commerce, advertising, small business, and you might have felt a bit out of control in some way with these things for the last 6 months. But Pluto going direct is going to change all that. It's going to give you the ability to feel more in control now, and have more mastery, and exhibit more external power over your own small business, or over an advertising campaign, over learning some new skill, over some sort of networking opportunities. You're going to be more in charge. You're going to be more have the power, because this is Pluto going direct is going to give you more personal power and personal assertion capacity out in the world when he goes direct, rather than internalizing it. So in that sense, it can be a very powerful time for small business. It can be a very powerful and beneficial time, Scorpio rising people, for any skill sets. If you want to learn something new under this energy, I'd probably wait till Mars goes direct in November, but after that, go out and learn a new skill, because with Pluto direct in your 3rd house, you're going to have great self-mastery over a new skill. You'll learn it quickly. It will gel for you. You'll feel in control of, say, the woodworking tools that you're using, or the jewelry making equipment. You will have more mastery and self-control of the use of your hands when Pluto is direct in the 3rd house. So for Scorpio rising people, if you're interested in new skill sets, if you're interested in learning some sort of marketing techniques or small business stuff, do it when Mars goes direct. Do it. Do it now, once Mars goes direct in November, because Pluto will be direct, giving you more mastery, power, control over those capacities in your life. Well, thank you for sticking with me for this sojourn around the horoscope. It is a bit of a repeat, as I said, of the energies we were looking at last week, but that just makes them all the more impactful, because we're getting 2 planets with kind of similar themes turning direct and having an impact. So we're going to sort of get it amped up even stronger this week. Thanks for sticking with me. Let me close with a prayer. Energy of love, we want to thank you for the beauty that is on the earth, and I want to personally ask for support from the universe to lift my vibration and to see love, to see light, to see hope and prosperity and abundance and beauty where maybe others see darkness. Help us all to see these things. Help us to look through the lens of love in the world, so that we start to experience love. We start to experience light and abundance in our own life, because that's what we're looking for, and that's where our heart is. Thank you for the up-leveling that is happening, even though it's hard on Earth at the moment. May we walk with this energy as best we can to bring about a whole new Earth. And so it is. Well, thank you for joining me. It's been lovely to have your company, and I look forward to sharing what's happening in the astral skies with you next week.